Darum Yolok, Half Dragons, and welcome to my patch 11.21 rundown, where I give my objectively correct opinion on Riot's bad decisions. These seem to be pretty popular with everybody else who does them, so I figured, screw it, let's throw my hat in the ring too and start doing them myself. Let's get into it. Okay, the big one first, all chat removal. Now, I already made a video bitching about this, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. Suffice to say, I'm not impressed. This is the laziest solution possible to fixing toxicity. It takes away way more positive interactions than negative in my experience, it hurts content creation, and it's going to make the game less fun if they go through with it. Now, it looks like they've walked it back a little. They defined the test duration as 2 patches, and they're only doing it in a few regions. I checked, and pretty much all Western regions, it's still alive. We did it, Reddit. I watched LS's patch rundown, for instance, and he and Nemesis said that Korean all chat is extremely negative, and they won't miss it at all. But still, leaving it up to the player to opt in or not is really the only decision that's respectable, unless you're an authoritarian, know-it-all, narcissistic, Oedipal mother type of motherfucker, you know? I will say that if they had gone through with this, and if they decide to go through with it later, more than any other change Riot has ever made to the game, this one makes me want to quit the game the most. To see them not even try and solve the problem of toxicity and just try to start taking away player communication options really shows where their heads are at as a company and what they think of the community as a whole. They really despise us, don't they? If this ends up sticking in these regions, I can only assume that it'll be the start down a long road of sanitizing communications until the game turns into fucking Hearthstone. I don't want to play Hearthstone, and I'm not sure that I want to be in the car for that ride. Like, I look over at Yoshi P doing hour-long interviews with every big content creator for FF14, right? And I see how honest and open he is with the community and how insanely positive that relationship is, and I'm over here sitting like, what the fuck am I even doing over here, you know? When was the last time any of these bastards at Riot Games actually sat down with one of us and had a serious discussion about the direction the game is going? Anyway, this is depressing. It could be the start of a really worrying trend, so keep applying pressure however you can, and maybe we can keep one of the better parts of the game that helps make it more tolerable, you know? Okay, moving into champions. Akshan's losing 20 base damage on his E at max rank. He's at like 52% win rate in the mid lane with like 23% ban rate. All these numbers are Diamond Plus worldwide, by the way. We don't care about low elo here. So, Akshan's clearly a giga-busted champion, right? The last time I witnessed such bullshit was Stealth Under Turret. That's how bad it is. Depending on your pick, there's literally nothing you can do against this champion. If you don't have reliable CC, he is going to shove you in, yeet around your turret, and one-shot you. It's unbelievably unfair. It's a big deserved nerf to Emax that helps with this toxic gameplay pattern. It probably puts him close to 50%, but he deserves to hang out at like 45% with Ryze. The champ's design is just so fundamentally unhealthy and toxic that he just shouldn't be allowed to exist pending a rework. Remember Season 1 Evelynn? Yeah, he deserves that treatment, as do most champions Riot puts in the game nowadays. I still want that dumbass revive removed, but whatever. Give it time and it'll probably end up getting trimmed off the kit like Aurelia's disarm and Akali's, well, everything. Damn, she really got lawnmowered over time, didn't she? Graves is losing 2 armor per E stack. This stacks up to 8 times, so it can be up to 16 total, which is about a cloth armor, right? He's at like 51.5 jungle and close to 50 mid and top lane. They say they're targeting lane Graves with this. It's been a really popular blind pick at Worlds because it can just shove waves out and scale really hard. It's tough to dive him through smoke screen, he gets enough armor to survive most trades, you know, that stuff. I think he's doing too much damage. I would have rather seen his wave clear result get hit a little bit. He doesn't get to 8 stacks that much anyway, realistically, so these changes are really kind of a placebo nerf. Jinx is getting an extra 10% attack speed on her passive, 25 range on her E, and like 15 to 5 seconds off of her arc cooldown. Her win rate's already pretty healthy, close to 51%, so this is a little weird to me. She was already getting picked in competitive before Aphelios got buffed again and people realized how ridiculous he is. The Chomper buff just lines its range up with that of her rocket, so it's basically a QOL buff. More cross-map Hail Marys is nice, but she probably won't convert on too many of them, so these buffs are smaller than people are probably making them out to be. She'll probably hang out somewhere around 51.5% win rate. Oh boy, Karthus. Tyler 1's gonna be pissed. They're hitting his early game mana pool. The mana refund on his E is down by 5 at rank 1, but it's a buff from rank 3 onwards. Now Karthus has been chilling between 53 and 55% win rate in the bot lane for a very long time, like years. Recently he started doing this in the mid lane too, so something's definitely needed here. Rank 1 Lay Waste is exactly 20 mana, so yeah, you could just not fail to last it on this champion to level 2. So this ends up being 30 mana per wave that you're not getting anymore until level 8, which is meaningful, and it's going to change how he plays. He's probably going to look to harass a little bit less, but it's almost certainly doesn't go far enough. It's still going to be a very broken strat. People will just learn how to play around it until they get to their lost chapter, so I don't expect to see much happen out of this at all. Okay, time for something that's actually exciting. Lux is getting some big buffs, and I Dare You is going to be very happy. She could definitely loot... Cat... she could definitely use the help. She's at like 48.5 in the mid lane and close to 48 in support. I genuinely despise seeing Lux support on my teams, but this could do something to change that. So she's getting 1% more AS per level, and a nice QOL buff to her passive to help her proc it more reliably. She's getting 10 flat damage to her E, 5% added to its ratio, and 20 to 0 seconds off of her ult's cooldown. Now, anything that gets you closer to one-shotting the backline for mid laners is a huge deal for wave control, on top of the extra harass damage she'll be able to pull out, right? But the real deal is this ult buff, on top of all the haste that she naturally builds. Lux is an absolute wave clear machine now, and is going to be nearly impossible to shove in and dive. It's going to do a ton for her safety in mid lane, and really help her to exist in this meta. Lux is not particularly frustrating and has a comparatively healthy gameplay pattern to all the modern bullshit that's been flying around. So I'm excited to see more of her and less of Vex. This should get her over to 50% easy, maybe even close to 51. It really can't be overstated how big these changes are. Okay, on to MF. We all knew something was going to happen here, but I think we're all going to be disappointed. She's only losing 25 base mana, and her W's cost is going up by 15. Now, Misfortune's at like 51% win with a 29% pick rate, which is absolutely absurd for something that popular. She's a really easy brain-dead AD carry to win lane and team fights with, which is why she was my favorite back in the day. This really isn't going to do much. Something stronger was definitely warranted here. You're just hitting W if you're going for an all-in anyway. Her Q is just too overtuned in lane for how easy it is to execute, and her bullet time just does too much goddamn damage with any setup whatsoever. Even with no setup, bullet time is a huge threat. If you don't flash it, you're just gonna get 100 to 0'd. At the very least, it needs to wake up sleeping targets, man. Like, that interaction is just so unbelievably broken, and I cannot believe it's in the game. Quinn. Fucking finally. This champion has been a problem for entirely too long. She's been between 52 and 54% permanently in the top lane for like well over a year now. Probably close to 2. If you max W first, her win rate is like 57.5%, which is holy shit, why has this not been gutted yet? Anyway, her W lost 20% AS at max rank, like a quarter of the ability is just gone, and thank God for that. She's gonna lose auto attacks in her burst window for sure. Obnoxious bird fucker, man. Fuck Quinn, hope it disappears altogether. But it's still gonna be insanely oppressive into most matchups, and it's certainly gonna stay way above 50% though. Scion Shield is getting buffed again. This time the health ratio is being increased by 2% at all ranks. The arms race between Serpent's Fang and shield values continues. They create Serps. Serps make shield champs bad. So they buff all the shields, therefore making Serps mandatory or you lose. If fucking Tyler 1 is being forced to build Serps on Karthus, and it's actually the correct decision, something's very wrong with the game. We really needed that new AP anti-shield item ages ago, and it just seems like such trash compared to Serps. Like, extra pen compared to reducing it by 50%, like, is there really even a comparison there? Weren't they supposed to be encouraging build diversity this season instead of making certain items just fucking mandatory? Anyway, Scion south of 48%, it's hard for him to exist with all the damage in the game and with LDR being a thing, so he still probably needs some ult cooldown or something added as well. Teemo, oh boy, this one's a doozy, guys. Dear God, I hate this. So, Teemo Q is about to be one of the most game-breaking things we've ever seen. He's getting 1 second off the cooldown, so down to 7, right? The blind duration's going up by half a second, up to 3 at max rank. You see, I thought we were getting away from 3-second point-and-click CC, but whatever. And the missile speed's also going way up. So get this. If Teemo builds just a little bit of haste, he can blind you up to 3 seconds, zone you till 5.5, and then fucking blind you again. That's like 6 seconds of this little rat just wailing on you, and there's nothing you can do about it if you're an auto-attack-based champion. And remember, after all the buffs, he does a ton of fucking damage now. They keep buffing Teemo over and over and over again, man. They're trying really hard to hard force him into competitive, and this actually probably does it. He's now one of the most toxic counterpick champions in the entire game. It's just more rock, paper, scissors game design, more lose and champ select nonsense, more better draft wins, and execution doesn't matter. Wonderful. This is definitely going to make my top laners less deranged and vicious in team chat. I'm guessing we're going to end up seeing at least a partial revote on this one. This is just such absolute bullshit. Teemo's not even that bad. He's at like 49.3 currently. I can only imagine how far that's going to shoot up. Diego, okay. This champ just doesn't exist in lanes anymore in high elo, and he's at like 46.7 in jungle. Yeah, my man needs a life raft here. The AD ratio on his Q is going up by 10%, the self-slow on his W is going down by 5%, and the crit ratio on his ult is going up by 25%. This is a nice little round of buffs. I'm not scared of this champ at all anymore at any stage of the game. He's been picked at Worlds, but he probably shouldn't be. Whippo still made him look really good, but anyway. These are all nice changes, should help him out a lot. I don't even know why the self-slow on his W is a thing. Like, this, it just feels so bad when champions have that sort of thing on their kit. They should probably just remove it and balance around it. Same deal with Shyvana's E-cast, making her stop moving in human form. It just sucks, you know? They're really forcing him into building crit, which makes him easier to balance, but it's also lazy design. Kind of poses that philosophically, but I'm sure if that wasn't the case, we'd get something similar to Tank Echo, and I'd regret ever saying a thing. So, okay. I almost want to say these changes don't go far enough, but for a champion that relies on resets like he does, even a small change to help get that ball rolling can make a big impact. So I guess we'll wait and see. And finally, Zaya. She's chilling at like 49%, so she could use a little something. She's getting 5 movement speed and 2 seconds off of her Q at max rank. The thing about Zaya is because her ult is such a strong avoidance and disengage tool, she can't be too threatening or we go back to the 2019 meta of seeing her picked every game. It's an on-demand stopwatch that you can move with. It's pretty fucking strong. Move speed buffs are some of the most impactful you can give to a champion. I'm kind of surprised she was at 325 to begin with. I don't know why Riot thinks birds seem to be so slow and Nivea's also at 325, but okay. In regards to the other buffs, Zaya currently maxes Q last, and I don't think that's going to change, so this is really a late game buff. If she can get an extra Q off before blade calling, the damage fall off on feathers is only like 5% per feather, so it could end up being a lot of extra damage. How realistic that is in an actual fight, I don't know, but it'll give her more chances to set up roots for sure in those late game fights. She should end up being a middle-of-the-road AD carry after this, and a great counter pick in a certain unavoidable lockdown, so pretty much where she should be. One last thing though, it's kind of weird that they're prioritizing Jinx and Zaya for buffs, when Varus is still chilling at 46%. They really don't know what they want to do with him, and it's really unfair to see him chilling in non-viability for so long. If you're really that scared of lethality Varus in competitive, then just make his Q do magic damage or some shit, or split damage, I don't know. Just do something, man. This is unacceptable. Okay, hallelujah, Gore Drinker nerfs. Praise Jesus! Finally, this toxic fucking meta is going away, hopefully. This really needed to happen ages ago. When Blue Kayn and Talon and Zed are going Gore Drinker and just ignoring their items, something's probably really wrong with the game. You're seeing it absolutely everywhere at Worlds, like at least 3 or 4 per game. This is just an insanely busted item that deserves to get dumpstered. So the scaling on the active's going away. It's going to be 175% base AD now, so it'll do like 100 to 200 damage instead of upwards of like 400 with a Riven ulti, for example. It's also losing its random health regen, but it's getting 8% vamp to compensate. So you have to actually drink Gore to heal now instead of just sitting there picking your nose. Much more thematically appropriate for the item, you know? People tend to really undervalue regeneration nerfs, and as a proponent of triple bead Shyvana, I'm here to tell you that it matters a lot more than you think it does. The random extra AD when you're low is also going away, so Olaf in particular is going to be extra sad. The active is still really good. Too good if you ask me. Nothing's happening with the heal, it's still going to heal you to full if you hit multiple people, but you don't get this massive wall of extra stats to check people with anymore. It's losing hundreds of gold of value, and the vamp is nowhere near enough to compensate, especially if your kit's mostly AoE. They're also changing Whip and Stridebreaker actives to base AD too, and giving Stride 5 extra AD to compensate. Perks at scaling, whatever, Stridebreaker's still bad. And now there's a few pretty big rune changes to round out the patch. Conqueror is getting absolutely blasted. You're seeing like 6 or 7 people in Worlds taking it per game, right? It's getting a 20% nerf to its damage at max level, and its stacks drop off 2 seconds faster. This is a huge hit to the late game power of this rune. If a fight is spread, for example, it's entirely possible now that your stacks just drop off between targets and you have to start from scratch. As a consequence, you're going to be seeing people look really strongly at more lane-dominant keystones if their champion has any other viable options. Guardian is losing a flat 20 points on its shield. I didn't really think about this rune at all, and I'm not a bot lane main, right? So people are still going Aftershock and area a lot too, so I didn't think it was that overbearing. 70 is really a lot at level 1, I guess, and it is the highest win rate option for a lot of different enchanters, and anything that makes Soraka less broken is okay in my book, so okay. Still waiting on a proper Soraka nerf, man. That old buff was so uncalled for. Filthy goat whore. So fucking frustrating. Now this little change definitely piqued my interest. The scaling health shard is getting buffed from 90 to 140. This is kind of a big deal. I go Gargoyle every game, right? So I'd be getting basically close to double value from this rune. If I'm not expecting a caveman champion invade from a Xin or a Lee or something like that, I'm probably going to start taking this rune. Okay, one of the other most impactful changes this patch, Ingenious is getting mega buffed. Its baseline item haste is going up by 10, and it's getting another 5 over the course of stacking it. When fully stacked, it now gives 50 item haste. The biggest thing here is, remember, this works on Predator. Galio and Nunu are about to become even more obnoxious. Like, I'm petrified of mid lane Nunu becoming flavor of the month. It's already really good, right? I hate the Spurg Roam meta, man. Like, didn't they nerf Veralion like 5 times to stop him from doing this? Does anybody remember that? Can we get some reverts, or... Anyway, expect Predator champs to pop off. We probably have Captain Flowers to blame for this one. Oh, no, 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 no. Another Ravenous nerf. Ah, man. They keep hitting Ravenous because people keep taking it, but they don't understand that it's because the other options just suck for some champions. Like Shyvana, for instance. If we're taking Dark Harvest, Ultimate Hunter doesn't do a goddamn thing for us. It probably should, but it doesn't. Riot. We don't have good actives for Genius until we get towards Zonia's, so that leaves what? Relentless? Anyway, yeah, don't go Ravenous anymore. It's a dead rune. Just stop doing it. It's not real. Just take fucking Relentless instead. They should just delete the rune at this point. I'm starting to actually feel bad for it. It's just getting bullied patch after patch after patch at this point. Like, if you hate it that much, just delete it, man. And oh god, hold me. They did something to Twin Bite again. Apparently it wasn't proccing certain things, so they fixed it, and I'm almost certain they're going to spaghettify something again. It's been almost 2 years since they broke Halo Blades, by the way. I'm still waiting on that one. And we're still waiting on Dragonform PTA to be made reliable again. And it looks like that's about it. We've got a bunch of dragon skins here. We don't really care since they're not actually dragons, and... Did Veralion get a chroma? Holy shit, they noticed him! Anyway, that about wraps things up here. Let me know what you think. May you be blessed, and see you next time. She's a really easy brain dead AD carry. She's a really easy, nearly brain dead AD carry that's... She's a really easy, almost brain dead AD carry that's... She's a really easy, almost brain dead... She's a really easy, almost brain dead AD carry that's almost foolproof to win. She's a really easy brain dead AD... struggling.